At 8:37, this is Sherman and Mariano and Danette in the AM. Thanks for joining us on a Thursday edition. And we're going to do something a little different. We don't ask for phone calls much on this time of the day. We reserve that for Speak Out from 12 to 2 o'clock. But given the nature of the topic today and our guest, if you have questions that you would like to ask of our guest or comments generally, you can join us at 724-1030. We'd be happy to take telephone calls. Our guest, John Good, is Director of CARE, Credit Abuse Resistance Education, and CARE educates young adults on the responsible use of credit card and the potential consequences of credit card abuse. CARE is a financial education outreach program of the American Bankruptcy Institute. After a successful career in the nonprofit arts sector as a marketing and development officer with premier arts presenters, including the Kennedy Center, Wolf Trap, Washington Performing Arts Society, Fairfax Symphony Orchestra, Galveston Island Outdoor Musicals, and Blues Alleys, John founded the Virginia Jazz Service Organization, the first statewide organization dedicated to the promotion and presentation of jazz music. In 1999, he became a meeting planner with the American Bankruptcy Institute. In 2013, he took over the helm of CARE. A formally trained musician, John has frequently been heard performing in many of the nation's capital area's symphony orchestras, jazz big bands, and chamber and theater pit orchestras. He currently resides in Alexandria, Virginia, with his wife and 4 children. Again, John, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
We read one of the genius questions earlier in the program. Given your musical background, do you know how many musicians there have to be for it to be a big band?
A big band would be a 21-piece. You can go as small as 11.
Okay. The information I had to be 10 for it to be called a big band. Give us some background on CARE.
CARE was founded in 2002 by a judge in upstate New York, in Rochester, New York. His name is John Ninfo. And Judge Ninfo was chief judge in Rochester, and he had seen a lot of hard luck cases coming through his courtroom that he felt could have been avoided if the people had only known what they were getting themselves into when they started to overextend themselves into credit debt. So he went to the local bar association there in Rochester, and they decided to start this CARE program free in the schools in upstate New York. It spread very, very quickly. And Judge Ninfo traveled around the country tirelessly, sort of playing Johnny Appleseed, if you would, going to all of his fellow judges and planting the seed of the CARE curriculum within the U.S. District Court circuit in all 50 states. Judge Ninfo stepped down from the bench in 2010, and he wanted to leave the program to an organization that he felt could further his interests and the cause, and he passed it on to the American Bankruptcy Institute, which is a 501c3 nonprofit association in Washington, D.C. And ABI, as we're known, is the world's largest member association of insolvency professionals. And when we say insolvency professionals, we're talking about judges, clerks of court, U.S. trustees, bankruptcy attorneys, and then those people in the associated professions of financier, investment banker, turnaround professionals, all these people who deal with individuals and organizations who are finding themselves insolvent financially. So ABI runs this program now as its financial literacy education arm. It is a free program that it's administered across the country. And what we do, in a nutshell, glad we're finally getting to that part. What we do in a nutshell is we go into high schools and talk to rising juniors and seniors and freshmen in college about what they're about to be approached by the credit companies for. And that is individual credit. Children of this age are about to be bombarded, as you know, by credit applications. I mean, I remember when I went to college, the first thing that was in my P.O. box when I opened it was a credit app. And there's always a guy sitting in the student union giving away free T-shirts or the big rubber finger or,
right.
you know, and of course what they want to do is they want to capture that individual because they feel that anyone who goes and finishes high school and moves on to a college education is a great client.
Sure.
They'll make a lot of money in their life, and they want to land that client early and keep them for life. So they really, really approach kids at an early age. what we do is we give the kids the understanding that when they get that credit application, when they fill it out and they get the free stadium cup or they get the free, whatever it happens to be, what it means by signing that paper, by signing that contract, what are their obligations and responsibilities under the contract, and what it means for them into the future in terms of their financial future.
You say it's in all 50 states, but new to Puerto Rico.
That's correct. It's the first time it's been offered down here, and actually we were approached by Judge Caban in the U.S. District, U.S. Bankruptcy Court here to come down and expand the program. The judge had been doing programs of her own to middle school and elementary school kids to talk about just basics of finances, but she felt that it would be good to expand the program to the high school level and talk specifically about credit. Since we do see so many cases like this moving through the courts right now, we feel it's important that we can save the financial future of the next generation if we just give them the working tools they need to understand how to properly use credit.
So, I'm a junior, a senior, or a freshman in college. I have signed up for the symposium, the conference. What will be presented in the course of how many hours?
Well, actually, it goes the other way. What we do is we go into the schools. So we actually go to the teachers or the principals of the local schools and say, we have a number of bankruptcy volunteers. We have a judge, we have a clerk, we have someone who wants to come in and talk to the kids. And we actually tailor the program based on the curriculum of the school. So it can go anywhere from 30 minutes for a very basic course to 90 minutes, which gets a little more in depth. And then from that, we can branch out and we actually offer modules on student loans, which is a huge concern right now. We offer modules on buying your first car, on how the home mortgage process works. But the basic care program talks about very simple concepts: needs versus wants. Do you actually need that new set of Beats by Dr. Dre, or can you actually get by with the earbuds you have now?
Yeah.
Is it a need or a want? We talk about good debt versus bad debt in terms of making good choices when choosing how to actually apply for credit and what credit you choose to use. And we talk about the ramifications of your credit score and how it goes forward in your career and your life.
What has been the results? And I guess you sort of backed into the age group because as you said, they're starting to get applications, starting to consider credit. What has been the result of your efforts, and then for what has been the primary problem for those who get in trouble with individual credit?
I think the biggest problem that most kids have is they see a credit card not as, they see it as free money or found money or their money. And they have to understand that it's not. It is the bank's money. It is a loan made to you in which you have to repay, and you have to pay a service for using that money, which is, of course, the interest rate. And a lot of kids just don't get that. A lot of kids, either they have a credit card or a debit card that's been given to them by their parents.
Right.
That bill just magically vanishes at the end of the month, right? They go on a shopping spree, they buy a new outfit, mom and dad pay for it. The kids really don't have a tactile sensation of the cost of actually making the purchase, of actually paying the bill at the end of the month, and the understanding of how the system works. So what we do is we go to talk to them about the differences between a debit card and a credit card. Is a debit card coming from your checking account? You earned that money, it's in the bank, it's yours, boom, set amount of funds. As opposed to a credit card where you get an instant loan from the bank when you're standing at the register. We talk to them about how in-store credit card applications, you can save 10% if you apply for this card today, are actually, you're going to wind up paying significantly more for that item if you charge it then. You may feel that you're saving money, somehow it's a deal for you, but if you forget to make a payment, the interest rates go up. Anyway, we talk about the basics of how the whole system works. We try to instill the children a sensation of savings is very important for having financial flexibility in the future. 98% of high schoolers do not save a penny. They spend every cent of their paycheck from paycheck to paycheck. And this is a mindset that 2 generations ago was firm and fast. You always put money aside for savings. We've found that because of the prosperity of the recent two generations. People don't have a sensation of having a safety net, having something in reserve for those unexpected things that happen in life. A new roof, a new set of tires. These are things you probably should anticipate.
Sure.
Right? They don't last forever, but nobody seems to save for them. They just think of it as an emergency. Oh my gosh, I need new tires on my car. Well, I could have thought of that 50,000 miles ago, right? I could have saved up to buy the set of tires. Instead, they wind up putting it on a credit card and paying significantly more than had they simply saved for it.
Yeah. You have some, well, let me again remind our listeners, if you have any comments, any questions of our guest today, you can call us. We'll be happy to take them at 724-1030, 724-1030. You have some symposiums and some speaking engagements here in Puerto Rico.
I do, as a matter of fact. In addition to being on your fine program this morning, this afternoon at lunch, I will be addressing the local Rotary Club. The club is considering taking it on as a community service project using their volunteer network to go into the schools and preach, if you will, the care gospel and try to teach some kids some financial literacy. So it's very exciting, actually. In addition to that, the U.S. court here, the U.S. Bankruptcy Court, will also be administering the program for CARE, and I'll give some information a little bit later in the call about how people can get involved either as a volunteer or if they happen to be an educator or a community leader, actually call and arrange for a CARE volunteer to come out and make the presentation to them.
But you said that these presentations are free.
That's correct. What happens is you would contact the care provider in your area. In this instance, it's going to be the U.S. Bankruptcy Court. They would then go to their volunteer network and arrange a time that works with the school and works with the volunteers. Usually it's the other way around. Usually the school says, the only time we've got is Thursday from 12 to 1. Great. So they'll send the word out to their volunteer network, find out who's available, and then that person would go to the school and arrange to make the presentation. What's good about our program and unique about our program is that, one, it deals specifically with credit debt. But two, it's administered by the people in the U.S. court system who see the ramifications of bad credit use every day. And I should say the U.S. Bankruptcy Court system, it sees it all. I mean, they see everything from the Lehman Brothers and TWA filings all the way down to the guy who's having his waterbed repoed, I mean, it's not a problem that is specific to only one group of people. It affects everyone at all different levels. And I think in the U.S. Bankruptcy Court, we have a certain colorblindness and economic blindness to each case that comes through the court system that makes us very keenly aware of that this is a universal problem. It can happen on any level. It can happen to Bill Gates, for Pete's sake, And we understand that once you get into trouble, it's very difficult to get out. So again, we're trying to do the preemptive strike. The other good thing about it is that when a judge, a U.S. District Court judge, or an attorney shows up in class in his suit, it's very impressive to the children that somebody of that stature has taken the time to come speak to them personally about their future and trying to preserve their finances into the future.
Obviously, congratulations. I hear it every day on the Dave Ramsey show, and I'm continuously shocked by two things: the amount of credit card debt that people get themselves into, and I don't know how that can happen. I mean, $40,000 of credit card debt, and then the other is the whole world of student loans.
Yeah, actually, here's some really startling statistics. These numbers just came out this past month. In 2013, the average credit card debt per household is $15,270.
Is that right?
That is
every household. That's the average.
That's the average. Now, there are some indebted households where it's significantly higher.
Yeah.
The average mortgage debt is $149,000. Makes sense? It's a big buy, right? The average student loan debt for 2013, each graduating student, the average debt was $32,258. Now, that's student loan debt. The average college student also carries about $3,000 in credit card debt when they graduate. They are entering the workforce, haven't made their first paycheck, and they are in debt up to their eyeballs.
I know, as I say, I'm continuously shocked as I listen to Dave Ramsey. And obviously Dave Ramsey's Crusade is somewhat similar to yours in terms of at least alerting young people about the potential crisis if they're not aware of credit issues and rules.
Well, what we've seen recently, especially since the 2008 recession, is students are very wide-eyed in understanding that these are desperate economic times. And I know here in Puerto Rico, you've been struggling with it since 2006,
right.
And it is a very desperate time for a lot of people. But kids have seen their parents lose their homes. They've seen them lose their jobs.
Right.
They've seen, they've seen the impact of overspending and free and easy use of credit. And so when we go in, they're much more receptive to the message that we bring them because they can see it happening in their everyday lives.
By way of wrapping up, where can our listeners go for more information and anything that they should be aware of in terms of opportunities while you're here?
Well, grab your pens and paper. I'm going to give you a local phone number, and I'm going to give you the national website address as well. If you could, please, through the U.S. bankruptcy court system locally, contact Carlos Infante at 787-977-6021. For more information on the internet, you can go to the CARE website, which is www. I always wanted to say that on the radio. www. CARE, the number 4, your future. CARE, the number 4, your future.org. And from that website, you'll find 4 different ways to get information. You can find information for educators, so teachers can actually download the materials directly. If they don't want to have a care volunteer come in, they can give that to their kids.
Right.
There is a certain section for students, which is replete with videos and games and things where you can actually do learning online yourself if you don't have a group session. There is a special session on there for parents. And it's very important that parents work with their children in terms of financial literacy to show them the daily bills, to understand how this all works.
Good idea.
And then there's also a special section for volunteers, which again gives you most of the presentation materials that you would use in the school. So it's a completely free, completely public domain, completely self-supported system.
Again, the telephone number.
The telephone number here locally is 787-977-6021. And the web address is, again, www.care4yourfuture.org.
John, thank you for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for your work here in Puerto Rico. Our guest, John Good, Director of CARE, Credit Abuse Resistance Education, which is a financial education outreach program of the American Bankruptcy Institute.